Hello, welcome to another video. Ever since I've been making videos on YouTube and watching quite a few videos that other people produce, I've noticed that there are a lot of, oh look at my setup type of videos where people will walk you around their computer and printer and monitor and other bits and pieces that they've got, just to say, look, I've always thought those videos are actually quite interesting. I really enjoy watching them, but I haven't made them myself because I thought, is it sort of showing off? Does it look like showing off? I don't know, but I enjoy watching them. So I thought it's about time that I made one of those videos myself and walked around my 2019 setup. So I'm recording this in April 2019, and if anything, it'll be great to look back in years to come when I thought that my setup was actually quite half decent. But in 5 years' time, will it look half decent? No, probably not. And just to prove the case, I have here some photographs of systems that I've had in the past, which at the time looked quite good, but looking through 2019 eyes, maybe not so much. So let's have a look now at my system, and I'll take you for a little whistle stop tour around the kit that I've got in Shea Clayton. So let's start with my computer. This is an iMac Pro. I got this in November 2018, so it's one of my newest pieces of kit. This is the entry-level model, so it's got an 8-core Xeon processor, 32 gigabytes of RAM, and it's got a terabyte SSD. It's got 10 gigabit Ethernet, although I'm only using gigabit at the moment, Thunderbolt 3. And of course it comes in this very nice space grey colour along with the matching keyboard and mouse. It's been a great bit of kit, my first all-in-one, and yeah, I think I'm converted to all-in-ones. So yeah, not much more you can say about that. Next to it, I've got one of my oldest pieces of kit. I've had this for nearly 10 years. This is my SNOM 300 VoIP telephone, and it was a way of getting a business line into the house without actually having to dig up the drive basically, and it's been really cheap to run, really great piece of kit, and I intend at some point, I've been saying this for months actually, years probably, to make a video about VoIP, so hopefully you'll see this again in a future video. Now that is actually it on my desk. It's nice and tidy, no clutter, and part of the reason for that I don't have any clutter on the desk is because of this over in the corner, and this is a network cabinet. Plenty of videos on the channel about me putting this together, and I got this so that I could put all of my tech gear, or most of it, in this cabinet out of the way and give me room for expansion basically. So we're going to go through this cabinet. I'll go through it as quickly as I can so I don't bore you rigid. We're going to start off down the bottom, and at the very bottom this is a Cyberpower PR 1000 UPS, and this then gives power in the event of a power cut, or it also regulates the power supply as well, so cleans that up. Now if the power goes off, not only does this give power to things in this cabinet, but I've also got my iMac Pro over there on the desk that is plugged into this. So if there's a power failure, I can carry on working. All my important gear is plugged into this and will run, and I can get several hours actually out of this. So in fact I think if I press this button it will give me, what happens here now? If I press various buttons on here it will tell me how long. Sorry about this, so I'm going to tell you, yeah. Oh, there we are. So it's at the moment it says that there is 100 and just under 110 minutes worth of estimated runtime. So, and the load capacity is actually very low on it at the moment, as you can see at the top. Anyway, I've got a video about this, a couple of videos on the channel where I run different tests, and actually at one stage just pull all the power out just to try it out really. So I'm lucky, I live in a part of the world where we don't have power failures very often, but it's good to have this. I only need to lose a day's work and this box would effectively pay for itself, so it was a no-brainer getting it really. Weighs a ton, I'll tell you. Going above that is my Synology NAS. This is a DS1513 Plus, it's a 5-bay NAS, and I've set this up so that these first 3 bays have 3 terabyte drives in each. There's 9 terabytes across here. It's a 1 tolerance RAID, 1 drive tolerance, so it will, one drive redundancy, which means I've got 6 terabytes of usable space, and any one of those 3 drives can die and I won't lose anything. In the 4th bay is a single 3 terabyte drive that I use for backup, for time machine backup from the iMac Pro and also from my MacBook. And the final bay is actually empty for future expansion. Another great thing actually with the Synology and the UPS is there's a cable plugged in between those two, and if the power cut and the Cyberpower is providing power to my network, which includes the Synology, if the Cyberpower, the batteries are becoming depleted, it will send a message over to the Synology. The Synology will then power itself down cleanly before the batteries die on the Cyberpower. Anybody who's used RAID will know that powering off a RAID device, just cutting power, is not a good thing. Data corruption, data loss is a possibility. So having this system in place means that that can't happen, and I don't have to be here. It will just manage itself and everything will power down if need be. So that's the Synology. Sitting on top of it is a really old piece of kit. This is a Mac Mini. It's a 2005 Mac Mini, and the reason that this is sitting in here, it's powered off most of the time, but the reason that I have it is because of that slot in the front. Yes, it has an optical drive, so on the very rare occasions that I need to access optical media, the Mac Mini gets powered on and I can access it using Mac OS's remote drive function, or I could remote desktop into it, I suppose, if I need to. It's running Lion, I think, but yeah, it's an old piece of kit, but it's there if I need it. It's a perfect size, really. It doesn't take up much space. Next to it, over here, is another one of my old Macs. This is a trash can Mac Pro that I got in 2013, and it was the predecessor to my iMac Pro. The reason that it's sat in here is because, well, it's out of the way, really, and it's powered off most of the time, but I have it there just in case I need anything off it. I decided not to use the migration assistant when I bought my iMac Pro, so I have this in here just in case I suddenly realise that there's something on there that I need. I don't think I've powered it on for a couple of months, certainly not for a few weeks. So it's getting to the stage where I'll decide what I'm going to do with it, whether I'll keep it as a warm backup or whether I'll sell it or use it as a server. I haven't really decided yet. So, but it's in here for now. It doesn't take up much space, so it's there if I need it. So let's go on up. Next, I've got a patch panel, as you can see, with all nicely labelled up. You can probably just about make that out for what points to where. Then going above that, I've got a 26-port Linksys smart gigabit switch, and yeah, that does the job very nicely. It doesn't make any noise. It's, yeah, just a switch. You can do all sorts of stuff with it with the software that comes with it, so you've just got more options on it that you can shake a stick at, so that's quite good. But it's one of those devices that you want to set up and just kind of leave to do its stuff. So let's go on up, and what have I got next? Well, here on the right hand side, that is a LaCie D2 Professional USB 3, USB-C hard drive. That's a 10 terabyte drive, and that is actually plugged into my Mac Pro over on the desk. And the way I work is that I have most of my data sitting on here, not all of it, but the data that I really want to access most of the time. So my video editing, my the work that I'm doing is all on that drive, and it syncs itself across automatically to the Synology, and then from the Synology is where I back everything up to. This backs up to the cloud. So, and also I can access the data on the Synology from other devices, and then that changes that I make to the data then sync from the Synology back to the back to the LaCie. I'm going to make a video about how all that works at some time, so if that made no sense at all, don't worry about it, all will become clear in a future video. Next to that is a Philips Hue hub. This powers my smart lighting. I've got I think at the moment 8 bulbs, I think, spread across various rooms. So I'm not a huge Hue user, but the ones that I do have are very useful, and I do like those, and it's a nice system, nice to have. Immediately next to that is a little box that is to do with the monitoring of solar panels that I have on the roof. and this then talks to the cloud, and I can get all sorts of data when I'm on the move or on a desktop to analyse what power is coming in from those solar panels, which is quite useful. Immediately behind that, you can't see very well, is my ISP's router. Now I don't actually use that for, I actually only use that for my as a modem. That is all I use it for. I don't use the wireless on it. I don't use it as a DHCP source. It's purely for connecting into the intertubes, and that is it. The reason being that if I come on top of the cabinet, I have here a Linksys VELOP hub, and this is used as my DHCP router and also as a mesh wireless router for my wireless equipment. So that's what I use. That's why that my ISP's router doesn't get used. So next to that, you can see that I have a power supply. That is a metal power supply for my Apple Watch, which is there on my wrist. And right, what else do we have here? Let's move across onto the other side of the room. The other side of the room here, I have my next piece of kit. It's an Epson ET4550. This is a inkjet printer, and this one I've got videos, again, several videos on the channel about this device. This uses ink tanks, which you can see down here. Now I bought this, goodness, must be coming up for, oh, will it focus? This must be coming up for 3 years ago, is it? Certainly 2.5+ years ago I bought this, and I'm still using the original ink. And I actually do print stuff out fairly often, because I need to print stuff out for work, copies of invoices and expenses and all that kind of stuff. And my wife makes cards, so she does inserts and toppers and all that kind of stuff. So the printer gets a fair amount of use, and yet I'm still on the original ink, and I still have some more that came in the box. So I haven't had to buy any ink for a very long time, and it just keeps chunting out all this paper. So that's wonderful, wonderful. So down here next is my original Apple Watch. This is a Series 0. I still use that occasionally. I use it when I'm taking the dogs for a walk or working out in the garden or something, when I don't really want to use my nice flashy stainless steel Series 4. Right, next up I'm in the kitchen, and you can see I've got another VELOP box here, and that's because my kitchen is very well insulated, and if I just have a router, a wireless router in my office, then it doesn't matter how good it is, it just won't get out here, it just gets blocked with all the insulation. So I have this one here, and you can walk around the whole house basically, and out into the garden, and you can have wireless coverage everywhere. Down here is an Apple TV. This is an Apple TV 4. It's not the 4K. This is just an HD one, but I think they've called it Apple TV HD now, haven't they? So that's quite good. That's all right. That just sits there, and that's what I use on this TV here, mainly for BBC iPlayer actually. All of this is wired in, because I have, down behind this dustbin, which you probably can't see very well, I've got an Ethernet port down there, which goes all the way back to my Linksys switch in the office. Now I'm in my lounge, and this is my big TV. I was never a fan of big TVs actually, but I did get one. This is a 55-inch LG OLED, and this is the 2017 model. And I consider this really as a piece of tech, because it's plugged into my network. So because I have an Ethernet port behind, how messy is this back here, I wonder? Oh yes, a bit messy. But I have an Ethernet port on the wall that you can see just there, that goes all the way back around to the switch in my office. So once again, I'm powering everything, sending data to everything via wired rather than wireless, which is something I really do like to do. Down here, another thing that's plugged into my wired network is a PlayStation 4. And what else have we got here? And then over here, in this little cupboard, there is oh look, there's a Wii up there, look, I haven't used that for years. But this another part that's plugged into the network, is a FreeSat FreeTime box, which I get my TV through, which doesn't cost me a bean. which is nice, but I can get, because it's plugged into the network, I can get iPlayer and Netflix and what have you through that. But I tend to use because this TV has got the very, very good WebOS operating system on it, which has to be one of the best smart TV platforms that you can use. You can access Netflix and all of the different streaming services and catch-up services through this TV, and because it's wired, it's just there's no latency, it just fires up and goes. It's really, really good. Definitely having everything wired in rather than wireless was a great move. As we walk out, I'll just show you there's a hue switch on the wall, and you're right, you cannot see any normal light switches because they're not there. I've just got the wireless hue switches instead. Now, of course, I can use and do use the Siri commands and also an app on my Apple Watch or phone or whatever to power the lights, but it's nice to have a switch there if you need it. And I've programmed those buttons to do different things. And again, I've got videos on the channel all about that. Other thing as well, I have here an iPhone 6S Plus. So this is ancient by phone standards. So I'm looking to change that in 2019, maybe get the replacement for a 10S or a 10R. Now, I also have a MacBook, and I've got an iPad Pro. This is the 10.5-inch version of that device, so that's other bits of tech that I've got. And I'm bound to have forgotten something, because I think it's getting to the stage now where we all have so much tech that it's very easy to forget if you're making a video saying, oh, look at all my tech. I mean, you know, if I'm making a video like this in 5 years' time, we'll probably have to look at my fridge and the kettle, and I don't know, we'll probably have chips on our hands. I really don't know, but anyway, I think that's probably long enough for a tech video anyway, so I'm gonna stop there, even if I've forgotten something else, and say thank you very much for surviving to the end of this one. Thank you for watching, as always. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and do post comments about anything you may have questions about, and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.